Hello, welcome back. This is Miniature Mike, and today we're going to do a character comparison video for Rebel Commandos. So this one was one of the requested ones I wanted to get to before I get to, let's see, what is it? The Force Unleashed characters, which I'm pretty close on getting done. So you probably noticed I haven't recorded in a while. Just been dealing with, the flu or cold that's been going around, and now it's finally done. Without coughing and all that and congestion, I can talk right. So I want to get a few more of these ones out. You'll probably notice I'm in a different room too, just because we've got some noisy 3D printing going on. So that time of year, lots to print. Been printing some boxes, still putting those together, and also I recently made a design for boxes to hold cards for top loaders. So for any of you people who do top loaders and are interested in faction-specific card boxes, definitely let me know, and I can get some of those for you. So let's jump right into Rebel Commandos. First things first, I'm going to go with Bothan Spy. So I know you wouldn't probably say this is a Rebel Commando, but I didn't know where else I'd figured to stick this guy in, so I figured I'd throw him in as a bonus, even though it doesn't exactly fit the criteria. But Bothan Spy, good old first mini in the game, Rebel Storm, 1 out of 60. This guy is terrible. I don't want to spend too much time on him. 10 HP, 11 defense, 4 attack, 10 damage, and grenades 10. So even if he didn't have grenades, those stats are terrible for someone who costs 7. And I think they're really, back then, they were giving a lot to grenades 10. A lot of guys in the olden times could say that the first couple sets, especially the first 2 sets, did 10 damage. It was pretty common. And then I'd say after Universe and beyond, it was pretty common for pretty much everyone to just kind of do 20 damage. Which, in a sense, I think it's kind of too bad. I think more characters later on should have still done 10 damage and just had different multipliers or things to make them work, but it's neither here nor there. So with the Bothan Spy, I won't go through too many of these, but they really don't have anything going for them. They have grenades 10, but they don't really have any way of making it better. They can shoot, I guess, if you want them to, but unfortunately, they're just overcosted. They're not. The pro is that they're cheap-ish character with grenades. Not really. There's better options than that with grenades. And it's just grenades 10, and you don't really have a great way of modifying it with these guys, unfortunately. So, as you can see from Blue Milk, they're 2.69. That might actually be one of the worst Blue Milk scores in the entire game. So, who else to give it to but the Bothan Spy? So, I mean, their sculpts are kind of cool. So, either way. Let's move on to the next guys, shall we? Moving on to the actual original Rebel Commando. So this guy came out again in Alliance and Empire. So overall, they're still pretty poor, and for reasons I'll get to in a second. Their HP is actually pretty solid at 40. Their survivability, range, and melee. Range is okay because they have stealth. And then for melee, they don't really got any of that. So for attack, it's not good either at 5 attack. A lot of people who cost 14, they're doing more than that. They're doing like 7. Heck, sometimes people even do 8, like elite clone troopers, elite stormtroopers. So it's like the attack's not really there either. The damage isn't there either. They only do 10, so it's kind of a bummer. So not great in terms of the stats department, except the HP's okay. When it comes to the special abilities, I think actually having stealth and grenades 10 is really good. The reason why grenades 10 is okay in this situation is because later on they added the strike leader, who gives grenades 20, and grenades 20, in my opinion, is much more interesting. It's much more of a fun power. It's much more like, yeah, if that's the situation, you'll use super stealth, you'll use grenades 20, because it's just, 50-50 hit, basically, if the circumstance lets you do it. But again, just like 10 damage, which is kind of like, not the best shooter, unfortunately. So I do like the special abilities. I think for a 14-costed character, those are pretty good. And you probably wouldn't really use these guys in any other situations but with the strike leader, to be honest, so I'm kind of considering that a little bit. The special ability synergy is okay. I think having stealth and grenades 10 is alright. It's just if someone gets too close to you, kind of voids your stealth, you have something you can do about it. But otherwise, it's just kind of fine. The versatility is fine. There's a guy with stealth typically helps the versatility. And then when it comes to Rebel Commando score, they're fair. I don't think they are the worst thing ever. I know that they've been completely replaced by the veteran Rebel Commando, but I think even for the time, they're fine. They're totally fine, but now they've fallen behind. Like Blue Milk gives them a 4. The pros, I think they still are decent stats and abilities overall. They're overshadowed now, but they weren't too bad originally. The cons, They are replaced by the veteran Rebel Commando, and I'll get to him at the end of the video. He's actually the very last one we'll get to. He also costs 14. He's basically a clone of this guy, but has more of everything. Just more stats, his mobile attack, but he costs the same. So, looking back, and this is something I've thought of doing for a while, is recosting older characters and making them, more viable. Like, hey, this guy, maybe he should cost 11 or 12 instead of 14. And that way he could be a cheaper commando option. That could be interesting. I think doing something like that would be kind of fun. And I had a project where I was working on it. I haven't touched it in a while. But the Rebel Commando is a character which, if you kind of recosted him, bumped him down a few points, could be kind of a fun and interesting option again. But either way, he doesn't really pack a punch, and he is obsolete, as they would say. So, next character is the Dressellian Commando. I actually kind of like these guys. So Blue Milk's pretty poor on them too. I think that's kind of unfair. I think they actually kind of bring some interesting, fun stuff to the table, kind of. So overall, I think they're good. I think their HP is also great. So having 50 HP on a 14, that's pretty good. Pretty good stuff there. The range survivability is the same as the other guys. You have stealth, melee survivability is not good though. Your attack though is actually kind of solid, and this is why. So 5 attack on its own for 14, not great. But he does have Loner, and Loner can come into effect, various points in the game. And can boost it to 9, which is much more impressive on a 14 costed character. So I decided to throw him a bone, give it 3. The max damage is also fair. Typically it's 10, but you can do 20 when you do Deadeye, which is kind of fun. So this guy can do 9 attack, 10 damage if he's alone and not moving, that's okay. That's okay. It's not bad. Like there's people you can use to modify him, make him better, make him more interesting for sure. But okay, that's okay. In my opinion. Special abilities I think are also still really good. For a 14 costed character, having stealth's nice. Loner and Deadeye have some modifiers there. That's pretty solid stuff. I think even for a cheap costed character like this. I think the synergy is good, the versatility is good. The reason the synergy is really nice is because you can leverage the stealth, the Deadeye, and the Loner to be able to have a really nice shot of, having kind of that steady, just 9 attack, 10, 20 damage. I think those things go well together, which is pretty good. So. And then also the Dressellian Commando, he does benefit from, I didn't say this, but he does benefit from super stealth because he is a Rebel Commando. He's a Commando in the Rebel Squad. So he does benefit from it, which is nice. So you can have super stealth Dressellian Commandos kind of spotted throughout the map, doing some stuff. If you can find some other good commander effects to give them, they could be a little bit more fun, a little bit more interesting and potent. But either way, they're okay. And then, Rebel Command, I gave them a 3. I think they're good characters. Blue Milk dogs on them a lot more than I would, for obvious reasons. There's better options, but I still think they're all right. So they're sneaky underrated, better stats, and they have better stats than the other commandos, and they have solid loner shooting. And then their cons is they do rely kind of on those powers to be effective. They don't really have anything else going for them, and you could argue that maybe they should get ticked down a cost or two with how things have changed, but either way, it is what it is. So next we get to the Rebel Commando Strike Leader. This guy's pretty dang important for all the Rebel Commandos. You kind of can't use them without him. So this guy's great. He's fantastic. And I don't want to say he's fantastic. That's going to overset a little bit too much. But he's really important to making Commandos really powerful. And he benefits Luke Skywalker Rebel Commando, which is really fun. So his HP, solid. Very solid HP at 50. Melee survivability and range survivability. So the range survivability is exceptional simply because he has super stealth. And that makes it a bummer, like really hard for the range guys to get up to him. Melee though, it's not only that he doesn't got much to help him out. His attack is fair at 7, could be a little bit better, but that's not bad. His max damage, again, it's okay, just 20 damage. He doesn't have anything else going for him. Does have grenades 20, so kind of keep that in mind. Against groups, he could do better. And against really powerful characters that are approaching him, instead of relying on, 7 attack against someone who might have 18 or 20 defense, just do the grenades 20, and that way it's a 50-50. And then you have special abilities, which I think are pretty great. You have stealth, in this case super stealth, which is awesome. And then you have grenades 20, and grenades 20, I feel like there's a huge chasm between the effectiveness of grenades 10 and 20. 10 is just kind of like, okay, it tickled the enemy. Grenades 20 is more like, okay, like, we're really doing a little bit more damage here, maybe to a group of guys potentially. Still not the greatest thing ever, but it's pretty solid. And then you have that ability, and then I'll get to the commander effect in a bit. You can extend that to other characters. So your ability synergy and the versatility is pretty good. I think, having super stealth and grenades is okay. It's good, but it's a little frustrating because it's a power where you want people to get close to you. But when you have super stealth, that is good that they have to get next to you all the way. It's just frustrating where it's like, oh, to use these abilities to their effect, I have to be kind of close to the enemy. So just kind of walking on thin ice there, got to be careful. But I think his commander effect is awesome because, one, he gives commandos in your squad with stealth and who have cover. He gives them super stealth, basically. So that is all the different Rebel Commandos that you have. That's Luke Skywalker Rebel Commando, which is that makes him really freaking deadly. And then that could even be any potential fringe commandos that you find a way to get in that also have stealth. I don't even know if there is anybody that qualifies for. Anyway, I'd have to think about it. And then the second thing is commando followers who have grenades 10, they get grenades 20. And that's a lot of commandos that are already rebel have 20, have grenades 10, and then they gain the grenades 20. This isn't the Bothan Spy. That guy's not a commando. But I think that's kind of fun to give out grenades, like that many grenades to characters, so I like it. And Blue Milk gives him a 7.87, which is a pretty solid rating. And then for Rebel Commandos, I give him a 4.5, just because as far as Rebel Commandos go, he's pretty central to what they do. So gotta give him nods on that, and he's a lot of fun. So when it comes to like the super stealth people, I don't believe I've made a who does it best for super stealth, because I think there's 4 characters. There's Bakara, Strike Leader, the Moff from the Imperial. I can never pronounce her last name right. I don't even bother. And then the other person who does super stealth is Nominor. I'd have to take a look and see. I want to do a video sometime that compares who does the best super stealth. I think probably this guy has the worst. They're all great powers, of course, to give no matter who you give it to, but I think he probably has the worst one, just because Rebel Commandos are nice. They're kind of limited. Some of them are really good, but some of the other guys have some more interesting options they can extend it to. So either way, let's move on now. Lastly, let's say pros. Makes Rebel Commandos pretty nice. Works with Luke Skywalker Rebel Commando. His cons, he's not the best shooter, and grenades requires you to get really close. So it's a little not one-dimensional, but a little limited, I guess you could say. So Twi'lek Rebel Agent, I decided to throw this guy into the Commando category, cover him because of his stealth. Twi'lek Rebel Agents, though, there's 2 Twi'lek, spotter characters, you could say. And this guy is the worst of them, in my opinion, for a few reasons. So he's okay, I guess. Giving spotter 20 is a nice boost, no matter what. But that's kind of all he does. So his HP is kind of meh. He costs 9. His range survivability he's okay because he has stealth, but bad melee survivability, bad attack, doesn't do much damage even for a 9. Max damage isn't there. His special abilities, it's pretty good because he has stealth and he has spotter 20. But here's the problem with this guy, and I'm just going to cut to the chase, that I don't like, is that he has spotter 20, but spotter 20 works after stealth stops working, basically, in a sense. So once people get too close, it's like, oh, okay, shoot, let's blow those guys up with spotter. And stealth, it's just like they feel like there are powers that are mutually exclusive. They don't work together very well, and that's what I don't like about this guy, unfortunately. So I gave him a 2.5. I think he's fine. Blue Milk's pretty low on him too. Pretty cheap character to pick up, but yeah. So the pros are spotter 20 does give a jolt when combining fire against close enemies, but he doesn't benefit from getting super stealth. Which if he did, that would actually be pretty nice, because then you still wouldn't have to worry quite as much. And then you have to get too close for comfort to be effective. So that's not my cup of tea. I'm not a fan of the Twi'lek Rebel Agent. The Elite Rebel Commando. So this guy is probably on the short list of one of the most useful and powerful characters in the game. And it's because he's just, kind of a monster, has great stats, abilities, good offense too. And then he has Override to throw it on top of it. So he's just like, you don't even need R2-D2 anymore in some cases, unless you're trying to get really cheap and fit him in, but it's just like, this guy's crazy. So overall, he's an awesome 4.27. His HP only costs 16, but his HP is really good. It is 50. That's kind of above average-ish for 16, but it's kind of on par. His range survivability is great, especially when he gets, the strike leader involved, then he's even better, of course, because he has stealth, which helps a lot. And then this guy's melee survivability, it's not there, of course. None of these guys have great melee survivability, But his isn't too bad with override, because then you can maybe find clever ways of locking out melee people depending on situation. The attack is pretty solid at 7. 7 at 16 is not bad. It's okay. It's pretty solid. And then when it comes to max damage, it's really tricky with this guy because he has twin and does 10 damage. So, he could do 20 damage. But he also has ion gun. So against, if you're doing, against fringe droids, or if you're against like dark troopers, this guy's going to totally shred them apart and do 60 damage to them. So in certain circumstances, this guy does a lot of damage. But in most circumstances, it's just 20, pretty much. But his special abilities, I'd say, are awesome, because you have Grenades 10, which becomes Grenades 20 with the Strike Leader, which you'll probably use him with. You have Ion Gun 20, which is really fun. You can blow droids up if those are in the battle, which they probably won't be, but maybe. Override is definitely the kind of the cream of the crop here. That's just so powerful to have door control on a character like this that can contribute so much in other ways. Stealth, you can make that super stealth, of course, and then twin attack. So this guy's got a little bit more interesting kind of offensive nature to him. So very good guy. I think his abilities synergize really well together, and he's extremely versatile. You can blow people up in groups. You have twin for just kind of basic attack stuff. Super stealth, that's always a very versatile thing to have. Override, extremely versatile, blowing up droids. So this guy can do a lot of different good things for you. Really good. I gave him the highest Rebel Commando score of 5, just because he's kind of a, the quintessential Rebel Commando, super powerful. And then as pros, he's one of the best best non-uniques in the game. And then override single-handedly makes this guy kind of a monster. And then his cons, he could have a little higher attack. Like if this guy had 8 attack or 9 attack, then he doesn't really have any cons at that point, in my opinion. Maybe he could do more damage, standard, but he's great. Great character. So let's move on now to the other Twi'lek, who I think is quite a lot more interesting and more useful. Not a lot more, but just better in general. So this one is good, the Twi'lek Scout. Your HP is really good, because you're at 20 instead of 10 this time, and you're cheaper. You only cost 7 instead of 9 like the Twi'lek Rebel Agent. So your survivability is kind of the same thing. You have stealth, so that's good against the range guys, and then you have bad melee survivability. Your attack is not good either. It's 5. It's not actually like terrible, but 5 is fine. It could be better, of course. Again, the damage isn't there, so he's not really going to be contributing offensively, maybe combining fire and stuff like that, but that's about it. Special ability-wise, I'd say he's pretty good. So he has stealth and rangefinder. And what rangefinder does, it says that replaces attacks. It's really weird how it replaces attacks and not just an aura. But adjacent allies who do not move get +4 attack against non-adjacent enemies this round. That's a lot more useful than Spotter 20 for kind of what you want to do with these guys, in my opinion. While Spotter 20 gives a lot of damage when you combine fire, the nice thing about rangefinder is that you preserve, the ability to stay away from enemies. You can maximize that stealth. You can stay far away, you can have stealth be active, and then you can give your allies that attack boost. And you give several allies, so if you're behind 2 or 3 or 4 allies, even a unique ally in this case, of course, then you can really give them a boost when shooting. I really like that a lot. I think that's kind of interesting and kind of fun. Now remember, this guy's only a 2.88, so he's not like incredible game breaker or whatever. But that's pretty fun. I think that's a much more interesting, useful power for a Twi'lek Scout type character. So, kind of moving along though, I gave him a 3 for Rebel Commando score. I think he's good. I've never used him before, but I do like that. I do like what he provides over the Twi'lek Rebel Agent. And that's pretty much it. So, unfortunately, he's not a commando, so he does not get super stealth. If this guy was called like Twi'lek Commando or something like that, that'd be terrifying, because then you could give commandos, you could give other people that +4 attack very easily, extremely easily, and then it'd be a little bit more tricky to deal with that. So a good character, and we'll move on to the Bothan Commando. For me personally, the Bothan Commando is my favorite Rebel Commando. And the big knock on him is he doesn't have stealth, but I really love what this guy does when he has Crix Madine with him. He becomes just a crazy power shooter. So let's jump into it though. He's really good overall. He's cost 16. The HP is kind of normal at 40. It's pretty solid. The range survivability is fair, and the melee survivability is poor. It's not bad, and the reason is intuition can definitely help a bit with that kind of getting in and out of certain positions helps with the survivability a little bit when you don't have anything else. Your attack's pretty good at 6, and then you'll usually almost always be getting careful shot with this guy because of the setup of his power, so 10 is really the attack. So that's pretty good. And then his special abilities I think are great. I really like the combination, and this is why I gave the ability synergy a 4.5, is because intuition and Deadeye and careful shot, they all work together. So this guy can set up, have 10 attack, 30 damage, and just kind of blast somebody. And I think that's really fun and effective. I really, really like that a lot. Kind of like a really poor man's version of Boba Fett Mercenary, kind of. So with this guy too, his versatility I think it's good. It's fine. He's kind of one-dimensional, but intuition does help him be a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to give that a little bit more versatility point when that comes to that. For Rebel Commandos, he's a 3.5. Blue Milk's, pretty decent on him, and then he's a power shooter, I would say. And keep this in mind, one of his cons is that he has no stealth. So unfortunately, if he had stealth, that would be terrifying, but he doesn't, and it's probably good to keep him balanced that way. And then the other con is he'll probably likely die, or at least get severely hit after making his shot with intuition. So he's kind of like a one-shot guy. You get in position, take a great shot, probably die. His pros, though, he's a really powerful tactical shooter. And then I think Crix Madine makes this guy, just his shot, very devastating. And that is with Crix Madine, he gives Commandos cunning attack 20. So this guy, because you have intuition, if the situation calls for it, you could say, hey, I want initiative. If I move, here, I can then blast somebody who has not activated yet for 14 attack and 50 damage. And I think that is so freaking powerful and so much fun. That's why I like him so much. I love putting him with Crix Madine because you can get some really, really, really strong shots. And it's a blast to do that. So my personal favorite. So let's move on to who I think is the last one. No, not the last one. We have Crix Madine now. I'm including him because he really is Rebel Commando. He's kind of like the ultimate Rebel Commando commander, I guess you could say. So Crix Madine, a lot of fun character. He's great. So pretty highly rated in my opinion. His HP is solid. Again, for a 16, that's 50 is pretty solid as well. I think the last guy was a 16, and I gave him all 3 as well. Oh, no, they're both 16, so that makes sense that they have the same. And then when it comes to survivability, he has stealth. That helps him out a lot. He does not get super stealth, though, so keep that in mind, because he doesn't actually have Commando in himself as a power or as part of his name. But when it comes to the attack, that's pretty good. He has 6 attack, but oftentimes you can make that 10 with cunning attack 20. The damage as well is 10, not great, but oftentimes you can make that 30, so I want to kind of give the benefit of the doubt there. That's pretty good. And then his special abilities I think are pretty dang awesome. And let's go through it. So cunning attack 20 is always great. You could give this guy twin attack with the Zerka scientist to make him really scary in those situations. Of course, if he needs to defend himself, that's pretty dang good. And then disruptive is a nice power to have. I don't really see him getting to use it too much, though, because I feel like if he gets too close, people are going to for sure try to kill him to get rid of that commander effect. So it's nice that he has it, but he's probably not going to use it. And then he has stealth, which is great to have, helps with that survivability. And then the commander effect, I'm going to skip commander effect, is awesome. So you give commandos in your squad cunning attack plus 20. Cunning attack plus 20 is such a strong, powerful ability. It's kind of underrated. It's just, for example, let's go through this. This guy becomes, with cunning attack 20, this commando is, with all the stuff going for him, like I said, 14 and 50. The elite rebel commando, this is crazy with the elite rebel commando. He becomes 11 to attack, and he can do 60 damage with the twin attacks coming into play. Humongous. The rebel commando strike leader, I think it was commandos in your squad, so just commandos in your squad. He becomes more powerful of a shooter. This guy becomes a pretty sweet shooter too now. This guy could do, let's see here, 13 and 40. That's pretty fun. And then just the regular Rebel Commando is more interesting too. And then there's the veteran Rebel Commando and the pad. Needless to say, Rebel Commando, commandos in your squad getting 20. This also, remember, plays into Luke Skywalker. Rebel Commando, he is a commando in your squad. He would get cunning attack 20 and become really, really scary. And so, actually, I think that guy already has cunning attack 10, as a matter of fact. I'd have to double check his card. Super great. The only reason I'm knocking it a little bit is because There are only a select amount of characters that benefit from this, but when they benefit, it really helps a lot, especially at that veteran rebel, the elite rebel commando. So let's back up a little bit, take a look at the synergy and the versatility. I think his synergy's not as great. Like, stealth is nice, but it doesn't really synergize well with disruptive. And then cunning attack's just nice to have. I think this guy's much more versatile than he is with ability synergy, because disruptive is nice to mess up commander effects. He can shoot and defend himself. He can help commandos, so he can do a lot of really fun stuff there. So I think his versatility is pretty solid overall. Blue Milk's pretty high on him. He's a survivalist. Shoot, I did not update this guy's specialty. That's my bad. This guy, he should be a commando leader, basically. So specialty's incorrect. Looks like from the last template I did not update this, unfortunately. So that's my bad. But he's an excellent command effect to make commandos more potent, and then his cons are, doesn't really provide too much else besides doing commander effect 20, and he doesn't get super stealth, which is a bummer, but that's okay. You gotta live with something. So the Rebel Commando Pathfinder, at first I kind of overlooked this guy and didn't really care much for him, but then I realized he had some stuff going for him that was really powerful, and you cannot look over it. So he costs 11, that's pretty cheap, and he has exceptional hit points. So 50 HP on an 11 is kind of the best in the game for that kind of range of characters. You have to get 50 HP, you need to be more like 17 cost or something like that, or 16. So the range survivability is awesome because he has stealth, and he has stable footing, and he has mobile attack. So this guy can really stay out of sight pretty well. And then the melee survivability, again, not there. The attack's pretty good too, it's 7. He's pretty cheap-ish, having 7 attack at 11, pretty good. The max damage, I'd say, is not the best because it's just 10, so he's kind of not much of a damage doer, unfortunately. But you can't do everything. So special abilities-wise, stealth's great, Pathfinder's great. Pathfinder's kind of fun. It's a little niche because it's not like you're going to run into difficult terrain everywhere you go, because I believe that's just referring to the yellow terrain, if I understand the rules correctly. But you have mobile, and then he has stable footing himself, which is pretty nice. So pretty quick, can improve the mobility and tactical ability of your squad, which is nice. So that being said, his ability synergies well, because all those go very well together in terms of helping better mobility, staying out of trouble, helping allies. Not super versatile, I'd say, just because he can't do a whole lot of damage himself. He's just kind of one thing that he does, that is helping those allies out. Remember, you could get Cunning 20, and that's pretty good. Pretty dang good, and pretty cheap to give on a guy like this. So his Rebel Commando score is a 3.5. I see that's really good in my opinion. He's a hit-and-run specialist, and helps other people be that way too. His pros are he's very strong stats for the cost, great mobility, and then his cons are not really an offensive option, but that's okay. He doesn't have to do everything, but kind of a fun option for Rebel Commandos and can help quite a bit in some cases. Last character is the Veteran Rebel Commando. So the Veteran Rebel Commando is an interesting one because he has the same cost as the regular Rebel Commando, but he has 10 more HP, 1 more defense, 1 more attack, 10 more damage. He's just better of everything. Holy smokes. And then he also has mobile attack. So he has significant upgrades in my opinion, and he has the same cost. So this is just the perfect quintessential example of power creep in the game from the first set to Imperial Entanglements, which isn't even the last set. It's like the 4th or 5th to last set. And so it's kind of too bad. It is what it is. I mean, people introduce power creep in games to keep it interesting, keep people excited. But that really means, though, that you really need to improve. There needs to be a way to retroactively kind of fix costs on characters, just so everybody's viable, or at least everyone's more viable, I should say, more interesting to use. With like video games these days, I play a lot of games sometimes where there are frequent balance changes to fix overtuned characters or to help undertuned characters or things like that. Or they don't change the stats of the thing, they just kind of change where it lands in terms of like what other things it will go up against. And there isn't really a great way to do that with Star Wars miniatures because A, it's obsolete and old. There's no necessarily like people, there's a lot of different people who do different things to try to fix things, but this is just a good example of that. Anyway, that's a rabbit hole for another time. This guy, I think he's really good overall. Definitely benefits hugely from the Strike Leader. Definitely benefits from Crix Madine. even other commandos, other people you could throw on to make this guy better too. So his range survivability is really good. Melee, not good. His attack, though, of having a 6 attack, that's fine. It's a little bit underpowered, to be honest with you. I know I gave him a good rating, just because there are some 14s with some pretty high attack, but it is what it is. His damage is fine at 20, which is nice that he has 20 now instead of 10, so that's decent. And then his special abilities, I think, are pretty great, actually. For costing 14, you get stealth, mobile, that's already a win right there. Get grenades 10 to throw on top of that. Your ability synergy, I'd say, is pretty great. I think these things work very well together. If someone avoids your stealth, then you can blow them up with grenades 10. I'd say more like grenades 20. But then his versatility, I think, is pretty decent too, just because he has the option to blow up, a lot of groups of characters, if your enemy isn't careful, of course. But then mobile attack and stealth always helps you be decently versatile. So Rebel Commando score, I give him a 3.5. I think he's pretty good overall. Not too crazy bells and whistly, but he can be pretty scary, once you give the super stealth, cutting attack 20, just watch out. And then the pros is his upgrade in all ways above regular commando. He's easy to get other upgrades too. And then his cons, he could require a little bit of help to be a little bit more potent. So out of the box, he does a lot of stuff good, but there are a few characters that can really push him over the edge and make him a really fun kind of part of your army, which is a good guy overall. All right, let's finish the rankings on these guys from bottom to top, let's say. So Bothan Spy, 142, terrible. Next we got Rebel Commando, no good. Twi'lek Rebel Agent, I'm not a fan of that spotter 20 and how it works with the team. So the Twi'lek Scout now, you can see that's a bit of a bump. I think still not crazy viable, but definitely much more interesting than the Rebel Agent. The Dressellian Commando, a decent commando to be in my opinion. Then you get kind of a bump to the more pretty solid characters. The Bothan Commando, no stealth, but a really nice power shooter. The Veteran Rebel Commando, of course, moves in there. The Rebel Commando Pathfinder, pretty crazy stats, and overall, I like that guy. The Strike Leader, 378. And then next you have Crix Madine, who's just a little bit better. And then finally, Elite Rebel Commando, who's way up there with a 427. So definitely some really great Rebel Commando options. Would probably avoid, the Spy, the Commando, Rebel Commando, the Agent, maybe even the Scout, but maybe you could consider it. And then everything beyond that could be kind of an interesting option. And then finally, last but not least, here is the final chart for everybody if you want to take a look at it, how they compare to each other. Keep in mind, I made an error with with Crix Madine's specialty. I just forgot to update this one, unfortunately, from the last template I was using, but it is what it is. But anyways, if you've made it through this video, thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe below, comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Rebel Commandos. A lot of really cool characters in the game, a lot of interesting commandos to choose from. There were more than I thought. And this gives me some good ideas, like someday I should do the Republic Commandos. I've already kind of hit the Imperial Commandos. I lumped them into the Troopers one. And then, what else is there? I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, one of these, I haven't gotten to droid characters yet. Sheesh, one of these days I gotta hit the Separatist army and do them, because they do have the droid commandos, which are kind of fun, but frustrating because they don't have stealth, but either way, it's neither here nor there. Anyways, thank you very much for joining me. The next video I believe I'm going to get out is either going to be, let's see here, it's either going to be the Force Unleashed characters, or I'm going to do some sculpts. It's been a long time since I've done some of the sculpts, and I have I think 3 or 4 sets to look at next. So almost done there, but anyway, we'll leave it at that. Thanks for joining me, and have a good one.